Dr. Kim's son stood nervously as the shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss. The alien air of Lumeria rushed in, carrying unfamiliar scents that immediately made his nose tingle. He clutched his diplomatic briefcase tighter and stepped onto the ramp. This was humanity's first official contact with the Lumerians, a responsibility that weighed heavily on Sun's shoulders. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, he had been the natural choice for this mission, but theory and practice were worlds apart. The landing platform overlooked a city that seemed to pulse with life. Buildings spiraled upward in organic shapes, glowing softly in the twilight. Nothing was angular or harsh. Everything flowed together in natural harmony. Breathtaking, Sun whispered to himself. A small delegation approached. Sun had seen images, but they hadn't captured the true essence of Lumerians. 3 tall, slender figures moved with impossible grace. Their skin shimmered with subtle bioluminescence, changing colors slightly as they walked. They appeared humanoid but more elegant, with elongated limbs and features that seemed almost too perfect. The tallest one stepped forward. "I am Raya, Chief Ambassador of Lumeria." Her voice had a musical quality. "These are my colleagues, Ministers Da and Su." The other 2 Lumerians bowed slightly. Sun cleared his throat. "Dr. Kim's son, representing Earth and the Human Alliance. I bring greetings and hopes for friendship between our worlds." He bowed formally as he had been instructed. Raya's skin pulsed briefly with a blue glow. "Your journey must have been long. We have prepared accommodations for you." As they walked toward a waiting transport vessel, Sun couldn't help but notice how the 3 Lumerians moved in perfect coordination, almost as if they shared a silent language. All 3 were strikingly beautiful in an otherworldly way. He focused on maintaining professional composure. "Your world is remarkable," Sun said, attempting small talk as they glided over the city in the transport. "Our preliminary studies didn't do it justice." Minister Day turned to him. "We are curious about Earth as well. Your species has developed quite differently from ours." "We hope to learn much from each other," added Sue, her skin flickering with what Sun guessed might be excitement. At the governmental complex, Sun was shown to his quarters, a spacious chamber with curved walls and soft lighting that seemed to respond to his movements. A window overlooked gardens where plants glowed in the growing darkness. "Rest now," Raya said. "Tomorrow's introduction ceremony is significant in our culture. There will be many officials present." After they left, Sun reviewed his notes. The briefing materials contained information about Lumerian biology and culture, but much remained unknown. One section mentioned their unique reproductive process, but details were frustratingly vague. He made a note to request more information later. The next morning, Sun dressed in his formal diplomatic uniform and was escorted to a vast, circular chamber. Hundreds of Lumerians sat in rising tiers, all turning to watch as he entered. Their combined bioluminescence created a spectacular-like show. At the center stood a raised platform where Raya, Dai, and Su waited. They wore ceremonial garments that enhanced their natural glow. Sun thought they looked like living stars. "Approach, human representative," called a voice from somewhere above. Sun walked forward, conscious of every eye upon him. The air was heavy with sweet-smelling pollen from decorative plants that lined the chamber. "Today marks a historic moment," Raya announced to the assembly. "2 intelligent species meet in peace and possibility." Sun stepped onto the platform. The 3 Lumerian officials formed a triangle around him. He noticed now how their skin patterns created complex, shifting designs. "Dr. Kim's son will now speak," Raya said, gesturing to him. Sun began his carefully prepared speech about cooperation and cultural exchange. The chamber was silent except for his voice. As he spoke, he became increasingly aware of an itching sensation in his nose. The pollen in the air was affecting him. "Humanity looks forward to sharing knowledge and—" He paused, feeling a sneeze building, and forming lasting bonds off. The tickle became unbearable. Sun desperately tried to suppress it, knowing how important this ceremony was. His eyes watered as he fought against his body's reaction. "Forgive me," he managed to say before it became impossible to resist. Achoo! The sound echoed through the silent chamber. Microscopic particles exploded outward from Sun in a cloud that drifted toward the 3 Lumerian officials standing closest to him. For a moment, everything froze. Then, something extraordinary happened. Rhea, Dai, and Sue simultaneously flared with intense light, their skin patterns accelerating into blinding swirls of color. Their eyes widened in what looked like shock. The assembled Lumerians gasped collectively. Some stood abruptly. Others began talking rapidly in their musical language. What's happening?" Sun asked, mortified by his breach of protocol, but confused by the extreme reaction. The 3 officials stared at him with changed expressions. Raya's hand went to her abdomen. Dai stepped backward, looking stunned. Sue simply stared at Sun with what might have been wonder. The ceremony is concluded, Raya announced abruptly, her voice noticeably different. "All must depart immediately." As the chamber emptied in controlled chaos, Sun stood helplessly on the platform. "I apologize for the sneeze. It was the pollen." "You do not understand what has occurred," Raya said quietly. "Return to your quarters. We will send someone to explain." The 3 officials hurried away, leaving Sun alone and bewildered in the ceremonial chamber, unaware that his simple bodily function had just changed the course of interspecies relations forever. Sun paced his quarters nervously. 6 hours had passed since the disastrous ceremony, and no one had come to explain what happened. The windows had been dimmed automatically, leaving him in semi-darkness with only his anxious thoughts for company. A soft chime announced a visitor. The door slid open to reveal a Lumerian wearing what appeared to be medical garb. Unlike the government officials, this one's skin glowed with steady blue-green patterns. "I am Dr. Jin, Chief Medical Officer," the Lumerian said, entering the room. "May I sit?" Sun gestured to the curved furniture. "Please, I've been waiting for someone to tell me what's going on. Did I cause offense with my sneeze? On Earth, it's considered mildly impolite, but hardly a diplomatic incident." Dr. Jin's skin patterns rippled with what might have been amusement. "No offense was taken. The situation is more complex." The doctor placed a small device on the table between them, which projected a holographic display of swirling cellular structures. "What you need to understand first is Lumerian reproduction," Jin began. "Unlike humans, we do not reproduce through direct physical contact. Our species evolved from ancient plant-like ancestors." Sun leaned forward, his scientific curiosity momentarily overshadowing his worry. "You reproduce like plants. In a manner of speaking, we exchange genetic material through the air, using specialized cells that seek compatible partners. When the right match is found, these cells merge with the receiver's reproductive organs, initiating pregnancy." Sun's eyes widened as understanding began to dawn. "And my sneeze contained human genetic material," Jin confirmed. "Microscopic cells from your respiratory system were expelled into the air. Normally, they would be completely incompatible with our biology, but something unprecedented has occurred." Jin manipulated the hologram, showing cellular structures merging and multiplying. "Your cells were somehow compatible with ambassadors Rhea, Dai, and Sue. All 3 are now in the early stages of gestation." Sun stood abruptly, knocking over his chair. "They're pregnant? From my sneeze? That's impossible." "We thought so too," Jin said calmly. "Our scientists are analyzing the process now. Something about your specific genetic structure resonated with theirs. Perhaps it was also the ceremonial atmosphere. Our bodies are more receptive during formal gatherings, an evolutionary advantage from our tribal past." Sun collapsed back into his seat. I don't know what to say. What happens now? That is being debated by our council. You should understand that in our culture, genetic compatibility is considered deeply significant. Those whose cells naturally merge are traditionally bound in lifelong partnerships. You can't seriously mean. Some traditionalists are insisting you have obligations to all three officials, Jin explained. Others view this as an unauthorized reproductive event and are calling for sanctions. It is unprecedented. Sun ran his hands through his hair in distress. This wasn't in any of our briefing materials. Such information would normally be shared only after establishing deeper diplomatic relations. No one anticipated actual compatibility. A new chime sounded. A communication alert. Jin activated a wall panel, revealing the stern face of a senior Lumerian official. The council requires Dr. Kim Sun's presence immediately, the official announced. Transport is waiting. Jin turned to Sun. I will accompany you. Remember that beyond the political implications, 3 individuals are now carrying hybrid offspring. This affects them personally as well as diplomatically. The journey to the council chambers was a blur. Sun tried to process what was happening, his mind racing through scientific possibilities and personal implications. How could human and alien DNA be compatible? What would these hybrid children be like? And how was he suddenly responsible for them? The council chamber was a vast amphitheater with 20 senior Lumerians seated in a semicircle. At the center were 3 empty chairs, presumably for the absent officials. The council leader, an elderly Lumerian whose skin glowed with muted dignity, spoke first. Dr. Kim, son of Earth, do you understand the situation that has arisen? Sun stepped forward. I believe so, though I'm still struggling to accept it scientifically. Science is not the only consideration here, a stern-looking counselor interjected. There are serious cultural and ethical dimensions. Another counselor added, Ambassador Ria, Minister Dai, and Minister Su are all carrying hybrid offspring. Your genetic material has permanently altered their lives. Sun swallowed hard. What do they want? Shouldn't they be here to speak for themselves? They are undergoing medical evaluation, the leader explained. But they have expressed different views. Raya sees potential diplomatic advantages. Dai feels her biological autonomy was violated. Su appears curious about the scientific implications. I never intended. Sun began. Intention is irrelevant. The stern counselor interrupted. Results are what matter. By our oldest laws, you have reproductive responsibilities. A heated debate broke out among the council members in their musical language. Sun could only watch helplessly as his fate was discussed in words he couldn't understand. Finally, the leader raised a hand for silence. We have reached a temporary decision. Until the hybrid pregnancies are better understood, Dr. Kim's son will remain on Lemuria. He will participate in medical studies and meet with the 3 carriers to determine appropriate arrangements. Sun nodded numbly. I understand. And when will I speak with them? Tomorrow, the leader said. Rest now. You have much to process, as do they. As Sun was escorted back to his quarters, he couldn't help but wonder how a simple sneeze had entangled him in alien reproduction, diplomatic crisis, and what was quickly becoming the most significant first contact situation in human history. Sun sat nervously in the circular meeting room, fingers tapping against the smooth table surface. 1 week had passed since the revelation, and today would be his first formal meeting, with all 3 Lumerian officials since the incident. The door slid open silently. Ambassador Ria entered first, her skin glowing with serene blue patterns. Minister Day followed, her luminescence flickering with sharp red pulses that betrayed her agitation. Minister Su came last, her glow a curious mixture of greens and purples that Sun still couldn't interpret. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Sun said, standing respectfully. It seems we have little choice but to address our situation, Raya responded, taking the seat opposite him. The other 2 ministers positioned themselves on either side, forming a triangle with Sun at one point. An awkward silence filled the room. Sun had rehearsed this conversation countless times, but now words failed him. Su broke the tension. I have reviewed your biological data. Fascinating that our species could be compatible at all. That's what puzzles me too, Sun admitted. It defies everything I understand about cross-species reproduction. The how matters less than the what. Dai interrupted, her skin flashing angrily. The fact remains that I now carry offspring I never consented to. Sun winced. I truly am sorry. If I had known. Your ignorance is not comforting, Dai said sharply. Raya raised a slender hand. What's done is done. We must focus on moving forward. Our medical teams report that all 3 gestations are progressing well. The hybrid embryos appear stable. I've been helping our scientists study the process, Sun said. The genetic integration is like nothing we've seen before. It seems my DNA has adapted to yours, rather than forcing yours to adapt to mine. Sue leaned forward, clearly intrigued. That suggests an intelligence in the cellular behavior. Remarkable. This scientific curiosity is all very well, Daz said, but we cannot ignore the cultural implications. In Lemurian society, those who share offspring are bound together. Am I expected to form a bond with someone who doesn't even understand our most basic biological functions? Sun swallowed hard. I understand your anger. In human society, this situation would be equally complex. I'm not asking for anything from any of you, but I do want to take responsibility however I can. Your definition of responsibility may differ from ours, Raya noted. For Lemurians, genetic bonds are lifelong commitments. The council is divided on how to proceed, Sue explained. Some elders insist we follow tradition, which would mean you would enter a formal partnership with all 3 of us. Others argue that cross-species incidents require new protocols. Sun's eyes widened. Partnership, you mean like marriage? A simplification, but not entirely incorrect, Raya said. Genetic partnerships involve shared living arrangements, mutual responsibility for offspring, and certain social obligations. But surely you don't want that, Sun said, looking from one Lemurian to another. To his surprise, their reactions varied significantly. Day's skin flashed with obvious rejection. Raya appeared contemplative, her patterns shifting slowly in what he had learned indicated deep thought. Most surprising was Sue, whose luminescence brightened in a pattern associated with positive emotion. I find myself curious about the possibility, Sue admitted. No Lemurian has ever formed such a bond with another species. There is much we could learn from each other. You cannot be serious, Daz said to her colleague. This human knows nothing of our ways. I could learn, Sun offered hesitantly. Whatever happens, these children will be part human. They'll need to understand both sides of their heritage. Rhea nodded. A valid point. The council has proposed that you remain on Lemuria throughout the gestation period, participating in regular medical examinations and cultural education. I've already requested an extended assignment from Earth Command, Sun said. They're sending a small support team of human doctors and diplomats, but I'll be staying indefinitely. Day's glow softened slightly. You are willing to uproot your life for this. These children didn't ask to be created, Sun said simply. Neither did you. The least I can do is be present. A communication panel on the wall chimed softly. Raya answered it, speaking briefly in the musical Lemurian language before turning back to the group. The medical team requests our presence. They have completed new scans of the embryos and have findings to share. They moved together to the medical facility, an awkward group united by unexpected circumstances. Sun noticed how other Lemurians watched them pass, their skin patterns revealing curiosity and sometimes judgment. In the examination room, Dr. Jin waited with a team of specialists. 3-dimensional holograms floated above examination beds, showing the developing embryos in extraordinary detail. Fascinating progress, Dr. Jin said. The embryos are developing faster than either human or Lemurian norm. They appear to be taking the most advantageous traits from both genetic sources. Sun stared in wonder at the tiny forms. Though only a week had passed, they already showed development that would take a month in human embryos. Will the accelerated growth cause problems? Raya asked. We don't believe so, one specialist answered. The cellular structure is remarkably stable. These may be the healthiest embryos ever documented on Lemuria. Sue studied her embryo's hologram with open fascination. Look at the neural development. The brain structures are forming in patterns neither human nor Lemurian. Even Di seemed affected by the images. Her hostile patterns had softened as she gazed at the life growing within her. They will be something new, Sun whispered. Not just human, not just Lemurian, but something unique in the universe. For the first time since the incident, all four parents shared a moment of connection, united by the wonder of what they had accidentally created together. The 3 months had passed in a blur of medical examinations, diplomatic negotiations, and cultural learning. Sun stood now outside the birthing chamber, pacing nervously as soft musical sounds emanated from behind the sealed doorway. The hybrid pregnancies had progressed at an accelerated rate that astonished both human and Lemurian medical teams. "Please sit before you wear a path in our floor," Dr. Jin said with gentle humor. The Lemurian physician had become Sun's closest ally during this strange time, patiently explaining Lemurian biology and helping bridge the cultural gaps. "How much longer?" Sun asked, glancing at the door for the 100th time. "Lemurian births are typically quick once labor begins," Jin explained. "And these pregnancies have defied every expectation so far. It shouldn't be long now." As if on cue, the door slid open. The Lemurian midwife emerged, her skin glowing with bright, excited patterns. "You may enter now," she announced. "All 3 births are complete." Sun froze, suddenly overwhelmed. In 3 short months, he had gone from accidental genetic donor to father of 3 hybrid children. The human diplomatic team had tried to prepare him for this moment, but nothing felt adequate. Dr. Jin placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "They're waiting for you." The birthing chamber was dimly lit with a soft, pulsing light that mimicked the natural glow of Lemurians. The room was divided into 3 sections, each containing a reclining bed where one of the Lemurian officials rested. Sun hesitated at the entrance, unsure where to go first. Raya solved his dilemma by raising her hand in greeting. "Come, Dr. Kim. Meet your daughter." Sun approached her bed slowly. In her arms was a small bundle that emitted a gentle glow. As he drew closer, Raya tilted the infant so he could see. The child looked surprisingly human at first glance, with delicate features and a small nose. But her skin had a subtle luminescence that pulsed softly with her breathing, and when she opened her eyes, Sun gasped. They were unlike either human or Lemurian eyes, larger with irises that seemed to contain swirling galaxies of color. "She's beautiful," he whispered. "She is more than we could have imagined," Raya agreed. "Look at her closely. She is already aware in ways our infants are not." The baby was indeed watching Sun with an intensity that seemed impossible for a newborn. When she blinked, the patterns of her skin shifted slightly, as if responding to thoughts. A soft sound drew Sun's attention to the next bed, where Minister Sue was observing them with interest. In her arms lay another infant, this one with slightly stronger luminescence. "Come see your son," Sue invited. This child had more pronounced Lemurian features, slightly elongated limbs, and a more angular face. Yet his coloring was closer to human, with skin that glowed but maintained a warm human tone. When he moved his tiny hands, small sparks of light danced between his fingers. "He's manipulating light already," Sue marveled. "This shouldn't be possible for months, even in Lemurian children." Sun gently touched the boy's hand, and the light patterns changed in response, forming a connection between them. The third bed held Minister Day, whose initial hostility had slowly evolved into cautious acceptance over the months. Her expression now was complex, wonder mixed with lingering uncertainty. "The third child is different from the others," she said as Sun approached. Indeed, the infant in her arms showed the most dramatic hybrid characteristics. Her skin shifted between complete luminescence and human appearance, seeming to pulse between the 2 states. Her eyes changed color as Sun watched, cycling through human browns and blues to Lemurian silvers and violets. "The medical team says she can control her biology at will," Dad explained. She is adapting moment by moment. As Sun looked at the third child, she reached out one tiny hand toward him. The gesture was deliberate, controlled, nothing like the reflexive movements of a human newborn. "They're all so advanced," Sun said, amazed. "How is this possible?" Dr. Jin had been examining medical readings nearby. The hybrid genetics seems to have accelerated development in all three. Their neural patterns are unlike anything we've ever recorded. They're processing information at rates beyond either human or Lemurian capacity. The human medical team entered the chamber then, led by Dr. Park, who had arrived from Earth 2 months earlier. They carried advanced scanning equipment to monitor the infants. "Incredible," Dr. Park murmured as she reviewed the first scans. "Their immune systems are showing resistance to both human and Lemurian pathogens. And look at these neural readings. They're off the charts." While the medical teams worked, Sun moved between the 3 beds, spending time with each child and mother. Despite the strange circumstances of their creation, he felt a powerful connection to these tiny beings who carried his DNA. "Have you considered names?" he asked softly. Rhea nodded. "In our culture, children are named based on their essence. We've been observing their light patterns since birth. My daughter shows patterns of deep thought and perception," Sue said. "I will call her Min, meaning bright mind in your language. My son creates connections through light," Raya added. "He will be Jun, meaning joining light." Day looked down at her changing daughter. "This one adapts and transforms. She will be Hana, ever-changing flower." Sun smiled at the perfect blending of human and Lemurian naming traditions. Min, Jun, and Hana. Beautiful names. A commotion outside interrupted the peaceful moment. The door slid open to reveal several Lemurian council members along with the human diplomatic team. "Is it true?" asked the council leader, entering cautiously. "The hybrids are viable and healthy." Dr. Jin stepped forward. "More than healthy. They're extraordinary. Their abilities already exceed both parent species." The council members moved closer, their skin patterns revealing amazement as they observed the 3 infants. "This changes everything," the leader said softly. "If human and Lemurian genetics can combine so successfully, the possibilities are endless. Medical treatments, enhanced abilities, extended lifespans." Sun looked from child to child, suddenly understanding that this accidental sneeze had created not just 3 unique lives, but potentially a new future for both species. What had begun as a diplomatic embarrassment had become the greatest breakthrough in interspecies relations in known history. And somehow, he had become the center of it all. The morning light filtered through the curved windows of Sun's Lemurian home, casting rainbow patterns across the floor where 3 children played. 1 year had passed since their birth, and each day brought new surprises. "Look, Papa," called Min, her skin glowing bright blue as she concentrated. The small block in front of her rose into the air, hovering unsteadily. At just 1 year old, she displayed telekinetic abilities neither humans nor Lemurians possessed naturally. Sun smiled with pride. "Wonderful control, Min. Much better than yesterday." Nearby, Jun was busy manipulating light patterns with his hands, creating complex shapes that danced across the walls. His Lemurian mother, Sue, sat beside him, her own skin glowing in harmony with her son's creations. The third child, Hana, was the quietest of the 3. She sat with Raya, communicating in the silent language of light patterns they had developed together. Though she rarely spoke aloud, she understood both human and Lemurian languages perfectly. "The Galactic Council representatives will arrive in 2 hours, Raya reminded Sun. "Are you prepared for your presentation?" Sun nodded, reviewing his notes one last time. Today marked the formal signing of the Human-Lemurian Cooperative Treaty, a document that would change both civilizations forever. A chime announced a visitor. The door slid open to reveal Minister Day, her skin now glowing with the calm patterns she had developed over the past year. Her relationship with Sun had evolved from initial hostility to respectful cooperation. "Hana, come here," Dag called softly. Their daughter immediately rose and crossed the room, her small hand fitting perfectly in her mother's. "Hannah, come here," Dad called softly. Their daughter immediately rose and crossed the room, her small hand fitting perfectly in her mother's. "Are the medical teams ready?" Son asked. "Yes, the demonstration is prepared." Dai had become the leading medical liaison between the species, her initial resentment transformed into passionate advocacy for hybrid research. The unusual family unit prepared for the day's ceremonies. Though they maintained separate living quarters, the three Lumerian mothers and son had developed a cooperative parenting arrangement that worked surprisingly well. The children moved freely between homes, learning from all four parents. 2 hours later, Sun stood before the assembled Galactic Council, representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations who had gathered to witness the historic treaty signing. 1 year ago, a biological accident led to an unprecedented discovery. Sun began. Human and Lumerian DNA, against all scientific probability, proved compatible. The results stand before you today. At his gesture, the three children entered with their Lumerian mothers. A murmur ran through the alien delegates as the hybrid children demonstrated abilities that had emerged during their first year. Min levitated several objects simultaneously. Jun created light patterns that formed three-dimensional images. Hannah silently communicated complex mathematical equations through light pulses that Rhea translated for the audience. These children represent not just a biological miracle, but a new path forward. Sun continued. Their hybrid genetics have created abilities neither parent species possesses. Most importantly, their existence proves that differences we thought insurmountable can become strengths when combined. The Lumerian Council leader stepped forward. Initial medical studies show potential applications that extend far beyond our two species. The hybrid immune system demonstrates resistance to diseases that plague both humans and Lumerians. Their neural patterns suggest solutions to cognitive limitations both our species face. Sun watched with pride as the delegates examined the medical data. What had begun as an embarrassing diplomatic incident had evolved into the most significant scientific breakthrough in recorded history. Later that evening, after the treaty was signed and celebrations concluded, the unusual family gathered in the garden of Rhea's home. The three children played among bioluminescent plants while their parents shared a quiet moment. "I received the official assignment today," Sun told them. "Earth has appointed me permanent ambassador to Lumeria." Sue's skin brightened with pleased patterns. "You're staying then?" "Of course. My place is here now." Sun looked at the children, who had developed faster in 1 year than human children would in 3. "They need all of us." Even Da, who had once resented his very presence, nodded in agreement. "They are teaching us as much as we teach them." Rhea touched Sun's arm gently. "The genetic therapy trials begin next month. 20 Lumerian patients with genetic disorders will receive modified human DNA treatments based on our children's hybrid patterns. And the human patients arrive next week for the reverse treatments," Sun added. "If successful, both our species will benefit from disease resistance we never imagined possible." The quiet moment was interrupted as a new delegation arrived at the garden entrance. Tall, insectoid beings from a newly contacted world stood nervously at the threshold. "The Xyrillian ambassadors," Rhea explained, rising to greet them. "They're here to learn about our hybrid research program." As Sun approached the visitors, he noticed one of the plants near the garden entrance releasing pollen. A familiar tickle began in his nose. With horror, he felt the inevitable building pressure. "Perhaps we should move inside," he began, but it was too late. "Achoo!" The sneeze echoed through the garden. Everyone froze. The three Lumerian mothers stared at Sun with wide eyes. The Xyrillian ambassadors trembled slightly, their antennae quivering. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Sue began to laugh, her skin flashing with amusement patterns. Rhea joined her, and even Day's serious demeanor cracked with glowing humor. "Perhaps," Rhea said between laughs, "we should explain to our new friends the importance of protective protocols when meeting humans." As the confused Ceruleans were ushered quickly toward medical screening, Sun couldn't help but wonder what other interspecies surprises awaited in humanity's future among the stars.